get the good stuff out of the way. This cover is fire. On God, this stuff slaps for real, no cap. Also, Phandelver Below, the Shattered Obelisk is one of the more recent adventures coming from Wizards of the Coast. This is technically 2 products marketed under one book. The start of this product, from levels 1 to 5, is Lost Mines of Phandelver redone in an up-to-date manner. And then from levels 6 to 12, it is a brand new adventure, which is the Shattered Obelisk portion and the Phandelver Below portion. So in reality, if you just want to run the Lost Mines of Phandelver, you can pick up this book and just run the beginning first couple of chapters and you'll get that product. But then if your party wants to continue playing with their characters immediately after Lost Mines of Phandelver, then you can go into the Shattered Obelisk section, which goes all the way till 12th level. However, there's some key things you should know about this book before you make that decision. So first things first, let's talk about the changes they made to Lost Mines of Phandelver. There's not many. The primary changes that were made to Lost Mines of Phandelver is mainly changing the genders and names of some of the NPCs. Did they need to change the NPCs' names and genders? No. Does it change the adventure? No. Why do they do it? Probably because HR told them to. Aside from that, there's a couple other smaller changes here and there, but really, it's still not a great campaign. Out of the 3 starter adventures, I would rank them with Dragon of Icespire Peak being number 1, that whole Essentials kit in total being number 1, and then Dragon of the Stormwreck Isle would be a semi-distant 2, and then Lost Mines of Phandelver would be at the very bottom. I don't like Lost Mines of Phandelver. I think it's pretty bland and very meandering and misleading. And the changes they made to Lost Mines of Phandelver in this book do not make it any better. However, if you are a diehard Lost Mines of Phandelver fan and you really want to play that adventure again, then yeah, maybe getting this book is worth the upgrade for you. But it doesn't change a whole lot. So let me paint the picture here. Your group is set out to Phandalin for Lost Mines of Phandelver because you are making sure that a individual is protected and safe with their caravan traveling to Phandalin. However, that individual is set out ahead of you, and when you get near Phandalin, you find that they have been attacked and they have been captured, and you need to go find them. In doing so, you discover that a band of goblins and orcs have taken this poor individual because they want to find a place called Wave Echo Cave, which is a very long forgotten ruin that is said to have a lot of really good riches inside. So they want access to that cave, and he had a map that would take them there. So your adventure is basically making sure you can find this dwarf and make sure you can get him back safely, also trying to find his 2 other brothers. And then while you're doing all that, you're doing all these random side quests that don't matter. And then once you finally find him, you can then go to Wave Echo Cave, clear out Wave Echo Cave, which is an enormous dungeon crawl. And then once that's cleared, the brothers, the 3 dwarves, will then take Wave Echo Cave for themselves. Thank you for your efforts. And that's the adventure. But the bulk of the adventure is spent doing these side quests, like going to a hag's lair, like going and clearing out an old town near Neverwinter, which isn't even by Phandalin, of zombies, and possibly fighting a young green dragon, which I don't recommend because this campaign goes to level 5 and you will not be 5th level when you fight this fucking dragon. Now one could say, but hey, Wingless, don't you do similar things in the other 2 adventures? Dragon of Icespire Peak is quite literally side adventures of the campaign. And you are semi-right, but let me remind you, Curse of Strahd is quite clearly side quests the campaign, and it is some of the best pre-written content Wizards has ever made, because there's a right way to do side quests and extra content, and there's a wrong way. Curse of Strahd is a perfect way, because every time you do any of these side quests, you are also moving yourself towards your end goal, which is fighting and defeating Strahd so that you can get out of Barovia. Every single side quest you do takes you a little bit closer to that, by either gaining levels, finding the magic items you need, or learning more about Strahd so you can better face him in combat. Every one of these side quests will help you on that journey. Phandelver doesn't do that. Going to the old abandoned town, way the fuck away from Phandalin, and fighting a bunch of zombies, and then encountering a young green dragon has 0 to do with Wave Echo Cave. The only thing you get out of doing that is if you're running experience points, you get experience points from doing that, which can help you with your levels. But most DMs are not running experience points anymore. They're doing milestone. And the end boss for Lost Mines of Phandelver is not the green dragon, which you'd think it'd be because it's on the original cover. It's a drow who you don't encounter until the very end of this campaign in the final room of Wave Echo Cave. You have no connection to this drow, you've never talked to this drow, you have no reason to be angry at this drow except for the fact that they got to Wave Echo Cave first, and they're probably evil. So to tie into the rest of the adventure, some of the goblins in the initial levels have been changed to be these weird psionic goblins with elongated heads and glowing green eyes. These psi goblins are of course controlled by one greater psi goblin who is communicating with what he believes is a god, but is actually 3 mind flayers using the goblins to their advantage because they're trying to put together a Shattered Obelisk, deep below Phandelver, to commune with a god in the far realm to then transform all of Phandelver into mind flayers for themselves. And your party can learn a little bit about that during the Lost Mines of Phandelver portion, but the most of it comes after you finish Lost Mines of Phandelver. Because after you finish Lost Mines of Phandelver, Phandelver is immediately attacked by a bunch of psi goblins who are stealing what have now known to become pieces of the Shattered Obelisk that have been incorporated in the town. A piece of it's used in a well over here, a bar is using a piece of it as a lucky stone they tap beer on over here, another piece of it's put in this shrine of good luck that people worship, and all of those pieces have been taken by these goblins, and you now need to go find them because the town people are a little angry that they can't tap their beer on their favorite bar anymore. And from this point, this leads into what I don't like about this campaign, because it's nothing but dungeon after dungeon after dungeon after dungeon. Some of you are going to like that. Some of you really want to play in that or really want to run in that. And if that's you, then don't take this review as gospel, because I am a DM who doesn't like a whole lot of dungeon crawls. Don't get me wrong, I like my dungeons. I enjoy a good dungeon here or there, but I don't like dungeons every fucking chapter. Because summarized, what happens is you go chase down where these goblins ran off to, and you complete a dungeon where you find that initial goblin, and then you find maps locating you to 3 other dungeons where 3 other big pieces of the shards of that obelisk have gone to. So you have to complete all 3 of those dungeons, and then after you do that, you then find the information for another dungeon, which you then go and do that dungeon, and then after that, then you go do one big mega dungeon. However, that last mega dungeon, I will give credit where credit is due, is pretty fucking sick. It's got some pretty unique encounters, including a purple worm swimming in a brine pool of quite literally brain stem fluid. And also, speaking of brain stem fluid, the whole dungeon is a brain. It's just a brain. You're roaming around in a big fucking brain! However, after doing all of that, you then fight the 3 mind flayers who have been conducting this ritual to commune with their far god, who then comes into the fold, and you have to then fight off this far realm god, otherwise all of Phandelver is gonna get turned into mind flayers, and after you do that, hoorah! Phandelver saved. End venture. Oh, I forgot to say as well, when the goblins stole all those pieces from Phandelver, they also took a bunch of people captive with them. So that's supposed to be the main connection for your party to save them, is that, well, surely they want to help Phandelver, right? Surely they want to put Phandelver back together. They're heroes, they're adventurers. They barely know anyone in Phandelver. They have no connection to the bar, they have no connection to the well, they have no connection to the Shrine of Good Luck, they have no connection to the Miners' Exchange, where all these pieces were stolen from, and then the people who have been taken captive, they don't know them, they have no connection to them. The only reason that they'd want to save them is because we're heroes, we're adventurers, that's what we have to do. But I'm sorry, that trope is long gone. The idea that adventuring heroes want to do the good thing for every ordinary people is not good enough anymore. You need to have strong connections and a strong desire to get stuff done. So if you are going to run this adventure and you want to keep those plots, have them spend a good, decent amount of downtime in Phandelver, getting to know these locations, drinking at that bar, visiting that shrine, talking to these people and learning about their histories before then suddenly out of the blue, these goblins show up and take all these pieces and kidnap these NPCs. Then your players have a much more bigger reason to be like, fucking how dare they, let's get the stuff back and get our people back. Because at that point, then yes, they are their people. But doing that immediately after they finish Wave Echo Cave is not good. Like I mentioned before, if you're a player or a dungeon master who loves dungeon crawls, who loves going through beer and pretzel style and clearing out dungeons like D&D or like video game levels, then you'll have a blast with this campaign because it's tailor-made for you for that regard. Which is why you should not take this review as gospel. I might not like this adventure because of its very weak tie-ins to the first campaign and also its very lackluster drive for the adventurers to do the good thing, but also because I just really don't like dungeon after dungeon after dungeon. I think dungeons should be a nice, beautiful Black Forest cake after a well-earned, delicious meal. I don't think dungeons should be the whole 5-course meal. Ranking this book on that tier list video I did, which you can check out here, I would put it as the second book I've ever put at D tier with Hoard of the Dragon Queen. Its story is lackluster. Its tie-ins to the first campaign are not great, and it's overall just a slog to get through. So much of a slog that me and my group didn't even finish this campaign. I had one of my party members die during the final room of one of these dungeons, and they told me they were going to make a new character and we figured out a way to incorporate them back into the group over the week until we played next time. However, during that week, that player then messaged me and they said, hey, I don't want to come back for this campaign. I'm not having fun in it. I'll wait until we start Vecna. I sat down with my group after that and I said, hey everyone, I need to know, are you guys having fun playing this adventure? All of them unanimously said no. We are playing this because we enjoy our characters. They couldn't give a damn about the story. Now, of course, some of that is on me as a dungeon master. I'm running the game. I could change things to make this more interesting for the group. I could edit it in many, many different ways, and I could try and make this a fun game. However, I don't like taking books and changing them so drastically that I'm not even running the same book anymore, because I want to review these the way they're intended to be played. That's a detriment sometimes for me and my group, absolutely. But a lot of times, for a lot of adventures I run, it's not a detriment because the adventures are fantastic. But if you're running a D&D game and your players tell you that they don't care about the plot or the story, they just like playing the characters that they're playing, then I'm sorry, DMs, but you need to change something. And you deserve to have fun too. Because guess what? They can have fun playing their players. That's great. That's fantastic. But if they're not enjoying the story that you're putting work into or that you're trying to put work into, then you need to change something because you're allowed to have fun too. And I had to tell my group, sorry, I know you guys are enjoying playing your characters, but if I'm not doing a good job running this adventure and you guys don't care for the adventure that I'm putting work into, then something has to change. So we dropped this adventure and now we're playing Vecna. If you like Illithids and you love dungeon crawls and you really liked Lost Mines of Phandelver, this is the book for you. If you're even lukewarm on any of those three things, I would not recommend picking this book up.